What's good, y'all? My name is Rorvis Paradox, aka Docs Brando, and I'd like to welcome you all to another episode of Rorvis Reviews. Today's episode is called Protect the Children, and this episode is going to be a little bit more serious on with the topics of the movies and the docuseries I'm going to be reviewing today. So, bear with me and go on this journey where it might kind of you know hurt your heart if you're, one of those people that keep your heart in your sleeve. So, but this is a journey that we'll be going on together. The usual, remember to hit that notification bell so you don't miss when videos drop. Also follow me on IG at DocsBrando25 to stay up to date. Now, with all that being said, let's do the usual. Let's get into it. The first film I want to talk about today is 2016's Moonlight, directed by Barry Jenkins. This film was not only a spectacle, it was magnificent to watch. The film is about the story of Chiron and how he grows up trying to figure out his identity in a toxic environment. The film is split into three parts, the three stages of his life, which includes childhood, teenage years, and adulthood. The first part is titled Little. Little is the nickname he was given as a child, and it's where our story starts with Chiron. From the opening scene, it shows the world that Little lives in, and we see that Little is a victim of bullying. He's being chased by kids being called gay slurs. He's then found hiding in a crack house by drug dealer Juan. Juan sees Little and, he takes him under his wing. He teaches him things that he thinks will help Little grow. Little is also getting comfort from Juan's girlfriend, Teresa, who's like a mother figure to him. As this is going on, we see what life is like for Little, how he tries to interact with kids his age, especially his friend Kevin. We see the horrendous environment he lives in. It's not just about him being poor, but also being raised by a crack addict. His mother berates him, calling him all types of gay slurs, and sells their items to feed her addiction. The second part is titled Chiron. As stated previously, this is set during his teenage years. We see that not much has changed for Chiron. Chiron is still getting bullied. His mother has now turned to prostitution to pay for her addiction, making Chiron have to stay elsewhere, away from home. He chooses to stay at Teresa's house, who's still a mother-like figure to him, more than his own. His mother's addiction has gotten worse. It is to the point where she shakes Chiron for money, the money Teresa gives him to help out. Just like his mother's addiction, the bullying from the bullies have escalated. Now the bullies are not only attacking him by calling him all types of gay slurs or calling him feminine, but also bringing up how his mother is a prostitute. Just like in the past, Chiron doesn't defend himself. The only other person that treats him decently is Kevin, his childhood friend. Chiron then gets brutally attacked by bullies after they instigate Kevin to attack him. The third part is called Black. Chiron is now going by the name Kevin used to call him as a street name. He has now shaped himself to be exactly what Juan was. He is now rugged, gold front-wearing, muscle-bound drug dealer. He has built himself to be exactly what he wasn't growing up. He's made himself someone to not be fucked with. Honestly, that's where I want to stop with talking about the film. I think this film is something everyone should see. It was excellent, and there's some points where I don't want to spoil, and I think it's something a lot of people should experience for themselves. I just want to get into the highlights, and for starters, I must say that this film was beautifully shot. The use of the backgrounds and some of the shots were really embodying the feeling of dread as we see Chiron, see what Chiron has to go through. The score, created by Nicholas Britell, was superb. The theme he made for Chiron just sounds like pure melancholy. I think they did an excellent job of executing what the themes of the film were. The film has many themes. This includes, identity, sexuality, masculinity, toxic masculinity, and what I brought up, genuine seeming. I don't feel like it's my place to talk about sexuality, but the other sections I can dive into. The way the film goes through talking about masculinity was spectacular. The environment and the people within it made it so it was hard for Chiron to be himself in peace. He was seen as a target for aggression because of what they perceived him as before he could decide for himself. This would made Chiron question his own identity. And what else could he do than become like the one person he looked up to in Juan? Chiron started to use genuine semen seeming. And for my non-communication majors, genuine seeming is when a person hides who they are so they can be who they want to be. Instead of being himself, Sharon chose to mask himself as a drug dealer who is to be feared and respected. This is tragic because has wasted years of his life to become someone he's not. Another thing I must highlight was the performances from the whole cast. For example, Juan, played by Marshall Ali, he is phenomenal in this role. He is excellent in everything he does, but what he did in this film was inspiring. He truly became the character, and you can feel the humanity from him when he's on screen. Janelle Monáe as Teresa was great. She did a stellar job of becoming a mother-like figure, and you could really tell that she was putting her heart into comforting this poor child. Naomi Harris as Paula, Chiron's mother, gave us a special performance. Naomi made Paula such a layered and flawed character. There's moments where you just hate her for how she treats Chiron, but she could also make you feel sorrow for seeing how she's suffering from her own addiction. Lastly, I want to speak on the performances from each of the actors that play Chiron. Each of them must be applauded. So, Alice R. Hebert, Ashton Sanders, and Trevante Rhodes, they all did a masterful job of being Chiron at each age, and it was crazy to see how they were able to build off of what the previous actor did and expanded upon it in this short film. Um, the film is well deserving of 5 stars, and this is an Oscar-winning Best Picture, so rightfully so. It was amazing, and again, highly recommend. The next film I want to talk about is 2018's Mid 90s, directed by Jonah Hill. This film was unique to say the least. The film is a directorial debut for Jonah Hill. Jonah did an exceptional job of making a film that's filled with nostalgia, but also that is able to stand out alone regardless of the type of music that's being played. Um, the film is about the character Stevie, a child who is being abused by his older brother while their single mother works most of the day. Stevie then becomes entranced by some local skaters. He sees how they interact with each other and he wants what they have. He wants to be part of their camaraderie. This leads to Stevie making a trade with his brother for his skateboard that the brother doesn't even want. But he's doing this just for he can start, for he can just be around them, for he doesn't, for he can make a good impression. Stevie then meets Ruben, a member of the group who introduces him to the rest of them, which includes Ray, Fuck Shit, and Fourth Grade. Now, as Stevie becomes closer with the group, just for being himself, Ruben begins to resent him. This is going on as Stevie is being introduced to drugs and alcohol, and this leads to even his first sexual encounter with a girl who is much older than him. At least the girl got at least be 16 plus, and he's definitely 11, 10, like he's young as hell. But this is where he begins to see his brother in a new light. He doesn't really fear him anymore, as well as Stevie begins to lash out at his mom. That is all that I want to speak about the film. I did highly enjoy the film, so I want you all to check it out without me ruining what happens in the film, but I'm just giving like a decent enough gist of to lay out the grand scope before I can get into the highlights. Now, speaking of highlights, I must talk about the performances from the cast. It was such a major highlight for me. Sonny Select as Stevie did such a splendid job. He was able to express highs and lows that Stevie was going through, and to be a child to do to have such range was amazing to see. Lucas Hedges as Steve's abusive brother, Ian. He did a great job of being an entire scumbag. Ian wants to be a cool and tough guy, but it's all a facade, and Lucas was able to encapsulate all of that. Jonah did a smart thing of bringing real skaters to act in his movie. Ray, portrayed by Nikhil Smith, is a known skater who's been around for a while. Found out he's actually skated with Odd Future, so maybe I've seen a clip of his before this. As well as even though he's a skater, he does other things, and he definitely was able to perform well here. And one scene in particular, I think he really acted his ass off and really, could have brought me to tears. Next was Olan Purnett as Fuck Shit, and Ryder McLaughlin as Fourth Grade. they did a great job of bringing the authenticity of what skaters are like, and they were special in their roles. Um, I just want to say that I think this film was what 4.5 stars. I think it was a very solid film, and it did exactly what it needed to. It didn't really overstay its welcome, and I enjoyed the whole process of the life that the characters were going through. So yeah, definitely tap into this one. The last thing I will review is the 2024 docuseries Quiet on Set: The Dark Side of Kids TV. The documentary was broken down into 4 parts. The documentary is about Dan Schneider, the creator, executive producer, and writer for majority of the hit Nickelodeon shows, including All That, Kenan and Kel, The Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, iCarly, Victorious, Sam and Cat, and he even wrote Good Burger. Someone who of this caliber has impacted so many children across the globe with the things that he's created. But behind the scenes, he was an alleged tyrant and sicko. The documentary went in depth of how terrible he was to his staff, crew, and cast. Not only did the docuseries highlight that he was alleged of sexual misconduct and gender discrimination against Nickelodeon employees and cast members of shows, that some of these cast members were underage. Many of his shows had adult humor within them that was not suited for the child demographic that he was targeting. This includes characters named with the last name Taint on the Amanda Show, characters being explicitly sprayed in the face with goo of some kind. This is relating to I don't y'all know what I'm talking about. How I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into that. Um, and the last one of the last things I'm going to mention that he did that was inappropriate was the blatant adult jokes. For example, during that episode of Victorious, the character Andre asks, "How does a person go from an A to a D?" And Jade says, "Happened to me in 8th grade." Something like shit like this should not be on kids on a kids channel for their viewing. Um, Dan also overworked his cast members doing reshoot after reshoot after reshoot for hours on end. Mind you, that these are children that he's working to the bone. So this is like literally breaking child labor laws. But because there's no protection over child stars, that's how you get away with things of this nature. But like I said earlier, it wasn't just the cast that felt his wrath. Dan made 2 female writers live off of a salary of one writer alone. He made them do demeaning things like insult themselves or even worse. If you see the documentary, you know what the or worse is, and I'm not going to go any further. Um, the most shocking thing to me was that there were 2 pedophiles that were working on Dan's shows that were caught within months of each other. One of them had over 10,000 images of children in their home, and I do not want to go into detail of the images, but you can imagine how horrendous they were. If you want details, again, watch the series. Um, he also had journals where he would write down his disgusting thoughts and fantasies about what he would do to these children. That person was only sentenced to 6 years. Then the second pedophile, did horrific things to a cast member, and that cast member was Drake Bell. The pedophile was sentenced only to 16 months in jail and had to register as a sex offender. Now, that all already made my jaw drop, and I was shocked by it all. But what really, made my heart sink was that, for one, people wrote letters supporting the sicko that did those horrendous things to Drake. And some of them were even blaming Drake for what happened, saying Drake tempted a grown man to do the things he did to him. The second was the same pedo would end up working on Sue Life and Zack and Cody some years later. So that just made me think about how there's no background checks, or there's no one, checking on the well-being of these children in these shows. How can you allow someone like that to who did something so horrific to easily get back into the same industry? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. The series, brought to my attention how unsafe it is for child stars. Why didn't they do monthly check-ins on, staff and cast? How come there weren't security dedicated to looking out for the children? It just makes me sick. the end of the docuseries is about it's about like kind of the end of the Dan Schneider era. It's because due to the strength of the Me Too movement, Dan was finally exiled from Nickelodeon, and it's been several years since he has last had a show on Nick, and I think his time is done. There's no going backwards, especially in the climate that we're in. Um, this goes along with the next generation of Nick stars. They're not going to deal with the same things that their past predecessors have. So that did make me happy in some sense, but overall, just hearing the tales of what these children who are now still going through this, they're still dealing with the trauma that they went through as back then. It still saddens me, but I just hope that their stories can help protect the next people to come forward. um I'm not going, I could say this, I don't even know if I feel comfortable giving this a real rating, you know, but I feel like it did do an excellent job of telling the stories of these people, and it definitely highlighted a lot of things for me. So if I have to, I guess I'll say 4 stars because it's very informative, and I was very tuned in. But maybe that's because of it being so close to, like, I grew up on a lot of these shows. So like Dan Schneider, like I said, I'm one of those people that globally was tuned in, but it just makes me sick to my stomach. And I think y'all should watch this just for you can get a grand scheme of things, because they've been talking about Dan Schneider and him being weird for years on end, but actually getting the details, um I think it just made it connected more dots, and I am appreciative of these people stepping forward and being brave. I called this episode Protect the Children because of what happened in each film slash documentary. In Moonlight, if Paula was a good mother and protected her baby and raised him right, he wouldn't be the troubled man he would have to become in order to defend himself, wasting years of your life, doing criminal acts, to toughen up. It's just sad to see, and that's really close to reality. In the case of mid 90s, you know if the brother Ian protected his brother and tried to put him on game instead of being an abusive dickhead, Stevie wouldn't have gone down the path that led to drugs at an early age. And honestly, the mother could have done better because because she didn't really help out with Ian. She kind of made Ian turn out the way he is, and he was very resentful towards her, so he inflicts pain on his brother for that. And it's sad to see. um in the case of Quiet on Set, um there's so much that could have been done better because everything was so poorly, and the negative impact on the lives of so many children occurred because of it. um I say that I think people should be able to look out for the children, and be a hero. And it doesn't just take it shouldn't just take a village to raise children. It should take a whole nation. We should all be on the lookout, because people love to say the children are our future, but if we do not protect them and raise them correctly, then our future is going to look very grim. Now, with all that being said, I have to ask, do you agree with what I said about these films? Have you seen these films or the docuseries? Do you have a different opinion? What shocked you the most about the docuseries Quiet on Set? Um, was there any favorite scenes from the movies Moonlight or mid 90s? Um, you have anything to say on any of these, please drop them all below in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe to help your boy out. You can see that every episode I'm trying to grow, and I appreciate those that are sticking around. uh Shout out to my boy Corbin Stewman for making the background song. I've been hearing some feedback from y'all about having some music, so I went to one of the best producers that I know, and he blessed me with this. So I hope y'all like it, and hope y'all appreciate him. Check him out, Corbin Stewman, on all platforms. He's a rapper and producer, great dude, and I made some great album covers for him. With all To close, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again for another episode of Rorvis Reviews. Peace.